Hello music producers and welcome to this FL Studio beginner tutorial series. So during the course of this series I'm gonna be taking you through a lot of tutorials showing you how to use this software as a beginner, and I'm gonna be making sure you understand the tools and everything you need to start making music the way you want to. Okay, so first of all we have to understand what FL Studio is, and FL Studio, which was actually previously known as Fruity Loops, is a digital audio workstation, which is a DAW or DAW. Okay, so what a digital audio workstation is, it's actually an electronic device or an application or software which is used for recording, editing, and producing audio files. All right. So there are a whole lot of DAWs out there, and FL Studio is actually one of them. So FL Studio has a whole variety of functions which is built into it. All right, it's capable of multi-track audio recording, it's capable of sequencing, it's capable of mixing. All right, and there are a whole lot of features that are jam-packed into the software, as you can see right here. So first of all, if you open FL Studio, this is how it loads. So as you can see, it might look very confusing at first, but just stick with me. We're gonna break down the process, and it's gonna be as easy, as simple as possible. All right, so first things first, if we go to the top of our window right here, you can see we have a bar right here, and this bar is called the tools bar. All right, as you can see, it has a whole lot of functions and a whole lot of buttons. I'm going to be explaining each and every one of them. So from the left right here, we have, as you can see, we have a few options right here. We have the file, edit, add, pattern, view, options, tools, and help. All right, so there are a whole lot of things that you can do from here. And from the file menu, you can see this is where you can open a new file. This way you can create a new file, you can open projects, you can export your work, you can save. In the add menu, this is where you actually work with plugins, external plugins. All right, you can add new plugins and all sort of things. And over here in the options, this is where you actually like your settings. As you can see, we have the MIDI settings, the audio settings. As you can see, all these things we have right here. Let's say you want to add a MIDI controller. Say you want to work on your audio. That is like your microphone and all those kind of things. So there are a whole lot of settings that goes on in here, and as you can see, we have a whole lot of things going on. And as you can see, also over here we have the tools and we have the help. As you can see, we have the help index. Let's say you want to go to the FL Studio manual. All right, so we have all these settings right here. Under the this options that we have right here, you can see we have this hint panel, and what this does is this is actually very helpful and useful for beginners, because when you hover your mouse over any button, as you can see, it gives you a hint of what the button is called or what is used for. As you can see, if you hover over the hint panel, it shows that it's a hint panel. And over to our left right here, as we go further right, you can see this is the master volume as it shows on the hint. All right, and then below that we have the master pitch. Okay, then next to that we have the play and the stop button, and we have two options for pattern and for song. All right, don't worry, we're going to actually go over what these two are as we go further. All right, then we have the record button for recording audios, for recording MIDI patterns and all sort of things. All right, then you have your tempo, and this is what actually this where you actually create the tempo for the project you're working on. As you can see, if you left click and drag, you can actually increase the tempo, or you can right click and actually set a tempo right here. You can type in a value of the tempo. All right, and you can actually tap. As you can see, we have a tap option to tap the tempo in. All right, and FL Studio records everything for you. All right, then further, as you can see, we have below this we have the song position. Then over to this few options right here, as you can see, if we look over at the hint panel, and I hover over each button, it gives you a hint of what each option is for. Okay, and over here we have the time panel, and what it does is that it displays the song time in bars or in real time. And then over here we have the pattern panel. This is where you actually create new patterns. All right, you can actually edit them, change their names, and do a whole lot of things to each patterns there. And over here we have some monitors, peak meters. All this just analyze our audio outputs. All right, so this is just for you to just have a view of what your sound is looking like the meter, the levels, whether it's peaking or it's not peaking, all those kind of things you can see from this graph right here. So, and over here we have the CPU load, and what this does is just it shows you what percentage of CPU that you're using. As you can see now, we're just using 1% of our CPU. By the time we start doing a whole lot of complicated stuff, you can see this number starts going up, and this is where you can read the level of CPU you're using. Basically, there are 5 main sections. All right, so first of all, let's say we start from the browser. All right, so the browser is by the left right here. And what basically the browser does is that it holds a whole lot of, it holds like everything basically. It holds the plugins, it holds your presets, it holds your samples. All right, so there are a whole lot of things that you can find from the browser right here. And then next up, you have a channel rack. Now, a channel rack is actually where the samples and the plugins you choose to work with for that project are stored. Every instrument you bring in, every sample you bring in, every audio file you bring in is going to be stored right. You will see it right here in the channel rack. All right, and this is also where you create your patterns. All right, don't worry, we're going to cover what patterns are as we go further. All right, then we have the playlist. And the playlist is where you actually arrange those patterns to make a song. So for your channel rack, you can have a pattern one as the drum loop, where you have the kick, you have the clap, you have the snare, all together in one pattern. Then you have a pattern two, all right, a separate pattern where you have the piano and everything. Then it is right here in your playlist where you now have the pattern one will now act as the drum loop, and then you have another pattern two, which will now act as the piano, as the keys. All right, then together this is where you now arrange how you want it to sound in the song per se. All right, so that is what happens in the playlist. All right, then next up we have the mixer. Now, as you can see, all our audio files is going to be routed to the mixer, and this is where I actually do some in-depth working, some in-depth mixing, some in-depth correction on making the audio file sound good. So all our instruments and sound that is on the channel rack can be routed over to the mixer. As you can see, this digits right here in front of them. You can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you look at the hint panel, you can see we have target mixer track. So this is target mixer track 1. So this kick now is routed to number 1 on the mixer. As you can see, if I should make a sound from it, you can see it is affecting the insert one on the mixer. So as you can see, all the sounds in our channel rack is going to be routed through the mixer, where you can further edit and make few adjustments and make everything sound good. So then lastly, we have the piano roll, and this is just basically where you create your chords and your melodies and all sorts of things like that. All right, so let's start from the ground up again. So don't forget this, our browser, it holds all sounds, all our samples. Let's say we want to add a kick. All right, so you can actually just open your packs menu. So yours might look actually different from this because I've actually added some sample packs to this. So if we go to drums, all right, you can see as we click on it, we have a drop down menu. It just keeps opening, and we go to kick right here. You can go to kick and you can select a kick of your choice. And once you click on it, you hear a preview of what it sounds like. Once you hear a sound that you want to use, all right, you can just go ahead and drag it into the channel rack. As you can see, we have it right here in our channel rack. All right, and if you want to add a virtual instrument, all right, you can actually click on this plus menu right here at the bottom. All right, and you have all the plugins, instruments that you can have, and you can actually just click on any of them. Like I said, I've added some extra plugins that don't come within FL Studio, so yours might look a little bit different, right? But you should have quite a number of them that are here. So you can just click on any one you want to select, and you can just go ahead and work with that. And as you can see, it still stores everything in our channel rack. All right, so if you click on this instrument right here, you can see it opens up some options that we can actually work with and make a few changes to, as you can see. And as you can see, the options that come out as the sample that we dragged from the browser will be different from the option that comes out when we click on the VST that we opened, right? So you can see the VST opens as the VST itself. But for the sample that we dragged from the browser, you can see this is actually called the wrapper. So over here, you can make a lot of adjustments to the sound. There are also some options on the top right here to pan it. All right, you can change the volume right here. You can pan it to the left and right. All right, and you can also change the pitch right here, and you can actually route it to a mixer track right here. As you can see, like I said before, this are 1, 2, 3, 4. These are numbers of those inserts on the mixer, and you can actually over here increase the numbers and changes to mixer track 5. As you can see, it also changes right here. As you can see, they are linked together. So back to the channel rack. All right, you can see that there are a whole lot of things that are going on right here. And one thing you should notice is that for each layer of sound, all right, each layer has 2 knobs by the left, And you can see one is for the panning and the other one is for the volume. All right. So you can actually just hold and drag to drag this to the left and right. All right. And you can also drag to increase this volume over here. And also if we open this, if we open the file, the wrapper, all right, you can see that this pan buttons over here and the volume over here, the buttons are actually linked together. And all right, so you can see they are linked together, and that's just something you should know. And also, one thing you should also know is that when you right click on any option in FL Studio, all right, it gives you a series of options for that particular knob. All right, as you can see from the top, we can reset it, we can edit it, we can do a whole lot of things. We can create automation clips from here. All right, and you can see we can also copy the value. Different buttons will have different options. As you can see, for the when we right click on the click, bring up a whole lot of options that are not the same as of the knob. All right, so there are a whole lot of things that you can do right here. All right, this way you can rename it. You can change the color. All right, you can load a sample, like you can replace it. Like for example, let's say you don't like the sound of this kick or you want to replace this with another sound, you can go ahead and replace this. All right, you can clone this, you can delete it. All right, and you can also do a whole lot of options right here. All right, so if I'm to rename this right now, I can, as you can see, we have rename colon icon. I can go ahead and let's say I want to name this punchy kick. All right, you can just go ahead and do this. All right, so you can see we have punchy kick, and you can select this gray icon right here to just change the color. You can change it to red, whatever color you want. All right, and then once you do that, you can just click this good button right here, and you can see it has changed the name and also changed the color of that particular instrument or that particular sound. So as you can see, going over to the right, as you can see, we have these little boxes right here. So you can actually go ahead and click on them to actually initiate a sound. All right, and you can actually right click to delete the sound. All right, so as you can see, we've done this, and once we click on the play button right here, it actually plays what we have going on. So you can actually go ahead and delete some. Then just go ahead and remove some right here, and you can go ahead and play. You can go ahead and play that back. So to create a simple drum loop is just by you can just go ahead and just keep building up the sound. For example, if we want to add a snare, we can go ahead and build a snare right here. Just clicking and adding the sounds. All right. So if we play that back again, and you can see that is just that. And you can also do that with the same thing with the hi-hat. You can actually just go ahead and add a few hi-hats right here. And just simply doing all this, you are just keep building and building sounds on top of each other. And that is that. All right, so inside this channel rack also, we have a few options right here. All right, we can go ahead and check this, click on this graph editor right here. As you can see, it brings up an option. All right, and this option, you can actually affect a whole lot of things. You can see we can affect the velocity, we can affect the release, we can affect the pitch. This is the fine pitch. We can affect the pan, and we can affect a whole lot of things right here. So let's say the velocity is just like the volume. All right, so we can actually go ahead and reduce this, and you can see that it now gives us like up and down motion on the hi-hat. All right, so if I'm to play this, you can hear how it sounds. All right, and just so you know, you can actually mute this audio right here with this green icon. So for example, as you can see, we have the kick, the hi-hat, and the snare playing right now. But if I want to just hear only the hi-hat, I can go ahead and mute this. As you can see, if I click on it, the green button goes off and it mutes. All right, then if I'm to play this back, you will notice that it's only the hi-hat that you can hear, because it's only the hi-hat that has a sound that is unmuted. And as you can see, because of the velocity I've reduced, it gives that up and down kind of motion. All right. All right, so now I'm just going to go ahead and unmute all this. All right, so now that we have this pattern the way we want it to do, next thing will be to go ahead and arrange this in the playlist. So now once we click play right now, you can see we have this. All right, now one thing you should notice is that when I click on the channel rack and I click play, if you look up right here, you can see that right now it is on pattern option. All right, and that is why it is playing from the channel rack. When I go to the playlist and I click on play, it switches to song. All right, so that is the difference between the pattern and the song. The pattern just plays that particular pattern that is on the channel rack, while clicking on the song plays the song that you've built in the playlist. So right now, if we look at the top of our playlist, you can see we have a few sets of tools right here. And first of all, you can see we have the draw tool. All right, we have the paint tool, we have the delete tool, the mute, the slip tool, the slice tool, the select tool, the zoom tool, and the playback tool. All right, so depending on what you want to work with, on how you want to work with in the playlist, you can go ahead and select these options. All right, so if we look at this bar right here, you can see we have track 1, track 2, track 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth. Now, just like in the playlist, in the channel rack, sorry, you can right click and change the name, change color, and the sort of options. You can also do that right here in the playlist. So if I'm to right click here, I can actually rename this, change the color, change the icon. All right, so if I'm to rename, click on rename color, I can go ahead and name this drum loop. All right, so you can just go ahead and name this drum loop, and it's actually very good to keep your work organized. And you can still change the color to, let's say you want to change this to our same red. Right, you can just click and accept this and click on this button right here, and you can see it has changed the color and the name. All right, so everything still remains the same, but the color and the name right here has changed, and this is just for organization purpose. It doesn't affect the sound in any way. All right, so let's say I want to create a new pattern. So we already have the drum loop, and this is not a song, this is just a drum loop. Let's say I want to add like a synth or a melody, or just build a code on top of this. All right, so we can go back to our channel rack, and then right here we have to create a new pattern, because this pattern is just for the drum loop. All right, so to create a new sound or to create a new layer of sound or something different, we have to create a new pattern. All right, so to create a new pattern, you can go over to this plus icon. All right, then you can name this, you can name the pattern from right here. All right, so let me just name this a synth. All right, so you can name it whatever you want, and you can also color it from here. All right, so you can also go ahead and color this purple or something, and then once we click on that, you can see we have this synth right here automatically, and this is the name of the pattern. So over at my channel rack, you can see there's nothing here because it is totally empty. That is because we have a pattern 2 selected. And don't forget, at the beginning of the tutorial, I told you that you can actually go over here to switch between patterns. You can see we have pattern 1. We can switch back to pattern 1, which is the drum loop, and we can also switch back to synth, which is now become an empty pattern because there's nothing for now for right here. So for the synth, I'm just gonna go ahead and use flex right here. I've already loaded it before, and you can see we have a bunch of sounds right here. I'm not going to go over this. I'm not going to go over this at all. But what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and select a simple sound that we can just work with. All right. All right. So when creating chords and melodies, don't forget I told you before, you will work on that in the playlist. And as you can see in the playlist, we have the piano keys right here, and you can actually go scroll down. So we have all the way from C0. You can see C0 right there up all the way to C10. As you can see, we have the highest right here, and we have the lowest right here. All right, so we might not even really hear that lowest sound. All right, so this is where you can go ahead and build the melody or the chord you want to work with. All right, so you can see we can click on this to know the sound it sounds like. And over here in this window right here, you can see we can also click on this, and we can click and drag. All right, so once we have this right here, and we press the play button, so as you can see, when I press the play, it of course was in song. It's playing the song, but for me to hear this, you have to click on the pattern, and you should always have this in your mind. All right, so once I play the play button, you can see it plays that particular note. And let's say you want to go over and play the C major. You can see you can go ahead and build this three, and then when I play the go back and press the play button, it plays the chord as a whole. All right, so let's say want to. All right, so let's say want to build a chord on top of this. All right, so you can see then we have this, and all right, so I just want to go ahead and click on everything and just build this simple melody that we have, this simple chord progression that we have going on. All right. Then to add this to the playlist is just the same way we've done that. We'll go ahead and make sure that we are on the synth. All right, then we can go ahead on the synth, and then we can go ahead and click this right here. All right, so you can see I just go ahead to click this, and then it is loaded right here in the playlist. So now if I'm to play the song, all right, you can go ahead and notice that it plays both the drum loop and the synth. All right, so that's just how you simply go ahead and keep on building sounds on top of each other gradually and gradually. All right, now, so these sounds that we have in our channel rack, like I've explained before, can be routed to the mixer. So right here in the mixer, this is where you actually take your sound, take your creation of sound to the next level. All right, so here you can affect the individual tracks. You can add EQs, you can add compressors, you can add effects and a whole lot of things just to make it sound good. All right, so as you can see, this track 6 right here, as you can see from our channel rack, this is the chord. All right, so you can go ahead and so if I'm to play this, you'll notice that this is the chord right here, as you can see right here. All right, so the first thing first is that up right here you can see the channel 6. You can see you have the name. You can actually right click on each insert, and you can see you have a whole lot of changes right here. You can also do the same thing. You can rename the color. So this was named synth, I believe. You can actually change the color also. I think we used purple. Yeah. So once we click on that, you can see it changes the color and the name. All right. So this is just an overview of what happens in the mixer and the options that you have. I'm not going to go ahead and go into details. It's going to be a separate video for this. But this right here is where you add the effects on this channel right here. As you can see, each individual track has their own individual options right here. So you can actually go here and you can actually add a parametric EQ. You can actually do a lot of things right here. So let's say you just want to take out the top end of this sound. You can actually go ahead and do this. And this is so you can see it just affects only that channel on that particular that really affects that particular channel. And you can see if I'm to click on any other insert, it doesn't show that effect that we've added until I take it up to the synth. That's when you can now see we have the parametric EQ. So each individual insert you can see has its own individual channel rack of 10 channels. All right, so you can see we have that going on, and you can see we also can build a whole lot of stack of effects on top of each other, and a whole lot of things that you can do, and a whole lot of creativity that you can go from here. Lastly, in this video, I just want to show you guys briefly how to export your songs. All right, so once you've finished creating your pattern and everything, what you can do is you go back to your file menu. You can see we have the export option. You can actually choose between WAV, MP3, OGG, FLAC, or MIDI file. I'm just going to choose an MP3 for this, and you can actually select where you want to save this to in your Windows. You can click on save, and it brings up this option for you. And as you can see, you can also have a whole lot of options right here. And I'm going to go ahead and explain this in a future video as we go deeper into the series. All right. So you can actually have this, and as you can see, we can also still go ahead and change the options of what we want to export right here. And once you're done, you can just click on start, and it just exports that particular file for you, and that is that. All right, guys. So that'll be it for this video. As you can see, we've covered a whole lot of things in this video, and as we go deeper into the series, I'm going to be going more in depth into each of these layers. I'm going to be talking more on the mixer, talking more on the playlist, talking more on the channel rack, and we're just going to be going to level up as we go further into the series. Please, if you like the video and if you learned a lot from this video, please don't forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss out on future videos that I post on about this series and about other things about music production. Alright guys, till we meet again guys, stay safe and see you in the next one.